Thank you. We always try to have some fun.
And that's you took my thing. I said you have fun. You have fun, and I enjoy you as the worship leader.
I'm ceding that position to the Reverend Dr. Kayla J.
And the choir is great. I just like to say there's two other things. You was one of my three, just to say I enjoy you guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yes. The second one is impeachment. I agree with that, and it calls the representatives to show their color in their as they vote on it one way or another.
But it's just important to get the issue to the forefront, because to me it's just seemed for too long that Nancy Pelosi didn't even want to talk about it. I'm like, how are we not talking about it? You can say we can, we can't, we will, we won't, but we're not even talking about it?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that. Tell me that that's not what you want to do. Tell me, but don't say it's not on the table, because then you have this person who is clearly without boundaries to keep on pushing.
Yes. Can I state this scenario? What if the police officer that went in there and shot, what if she got shot?
Well, but can I ask you something, Wanda, for real? Now, do you live in a house or apartment? You don't have to tell me where. I don't want to know where. I just want to...
No problem. No problem. A house.
Okay. So let's say one night you coming home. Maybe I'll give you a couple drinks. They're not saying she was even drinking. So she's not drinking. But let's just say you going home. You got the phone in one ear. You done had a drink of brewski or two. You go up the steps to the wrong house. And somehow you get in. How'd you get in the house? You check the door locked. You look up, you're like, oh, this ain't my house. You got a minute of clarity. She had just been on the phone, as they say in this article, and there's nothing about it that's, and I understand that apartment complexes can be uniform and without distinction, so I'm going to give you that. But was the door open? Police officer, why your door open? You've been coming in off your shift at night. Why is your door open? If your door ain't open, it's locked. How you had a key for that apartment? Just saying.
Like you said about being in November, the more things change, the more they change.
So what you think happened? I'm serious. What do you think happened?
I tell you, like you said, you brought some good points, and something shaky there, and just crazy.
Then the first thing you do, the door is open, you got your gun drawn. Are you expecting a problem? Because if you really think, oops, I made a mistake, I'm just going into my apartment, is the first thing that you do go in guns blazing, or do you say, is anybody there?
Yeah.
Hello? Why are you here in my apartment? And then you might start shooting. But the first thing you do is go in guns blazing.
Worship leader, I can't help you on that one.
Let's pray about it.
Amen.
Thanks, Wanda. Thanks for your call. Yeah, I mean, come on. Is that what you do? What you might do, because I've had my house robbed before. And what you do is, you see stuff that don't look right before you go in. Then you open the door and you see stuff that don't look right when you step in, and then you step out. And you call the police. That's what you do.
That's what you do. You don't.
That's what I did.
That's what you did.
I'm just saying, I called the police. So if it's your apartment, you're off duty, and you see something amiss and awry, do you take care of that yourself, or do you call and say there's something awry or amiss and handle it yourself? Why not just step out and call for backup, call for support, call the police? Because you are the police.
I was say, maybe she figured she had it under control. She would just I don't know. Maybe she. I don't know. I keep wanting to say she was scared, but at the end of the day, you was like, but it's
But
not.
you're a cop.
You could still be scared and be a cop.
215-634-8065 is the number. We're talking about the impeachment. At 11 o'clock, we're going to have our guest, Leon Williams, who's going to call and talk with us about the schools here in the city of Philadelphia, the school board. Maybe he'll explain to me why the only school district in the whole state of Pennsylvania that doesn't have an elected school board is, majority minority Philadelphia. You think the black has anything to do with it? Is it a deconstruction of black power or a continuing one? We'll get to talk about it. We're going to talk about it with Leon at 11. 215-634-8065 is the number here in the studio. Let's go to Tony. Thank you for your call, Tony.
Oh, good morning, good people. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Now, here, I'm a cynic. In this Trump era, they're speaking about the female white cop that shot the brother, and they're going to come up with a predominantly black jury?
It's 5 black, 5 Hispanic, and 2 white.
Yeah, predominantly brown. Now, if she's found not guilty, who's the defendant, him or her? The shot, the brother shot. You know what I'm trying to say? And in Texas, I believe this whole thing is a setup.
Oh, I hadn't quite thought about it like that.
Guilty, she gonna probably might get the lesser charge of involuntary manslaughter, but that's a setup.
Originally, they had charged her with manslaughter. She was initially arrested on manslaughter charges, but they allowed a grand jury to evaluate the case. And I think that's important because historically, prosecutors in many jurisdictions would have made a decision about charging on their own. But in this instance, the prosecutor, the district attorney in Dallas, allowed a grand jury to consider the charges, investigate the charges, and make recommendations. And even though she was originally arrested on manslaughter in charges, in November of this past year, a grand jury indicted her on murder.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that her defense is that she was tired and she was fatigued that night and when she was coming in, and she was acting on autopilot. So I want to know, if it's autopilot, how many other folks you done shot? Am I wrong?
May I say something?
You may.
But we're in America in the Trump era. Now, if you can't see that this whole thing is a setup, you know, if Trump can get away with what he's getting away with, what makes you think they can't set up their own jury to do what they want? Well, we'll just wait to see the outcome. But how in the world could an all predominantly brown jury find her not guilty?
So she said in her, she's stating that, because I'm saying, did you have a key or how'd you get in? And they're saying that she tried to use her electronic key fob to enter the apartment door, but that it pushed open. I'm sorry.
Right. I'm sorry also. Thank you for taking
Take care. Reverend Joe, thanks for your call. 215-634-8065 is the number. We're going to be talking with you if you give us a call until around 11 o'clock. Give us a call. We're talking about the impeachment of Donald Trump and whether you think there's a sea change going on right now. We're also going to be talking about schools in Philadelphia, and we're also talking about the Dallas shooting, but also with regard to jury service. And I'm going to talk more about that after we talk with Leon Williams, but that is a really big deal. And we're talking about civil rights in this country, and in Philadelphia in particular. Jury service, jury duty, and what juries look like are really, really important, and we're going to talk about that. Thanks for calling, Reverend Joe.
Good morning, Attorney Wilson.
Attorney Wilson and Reverend Kayla J. You got a compatriot over here.
Your co-host is doing a good job. I'll say this here. You asked the question a few minutes ago. You think race had anything to do with it, but until further notice, every time that comes in your mind, say yes, because black folks left the stadium at halftime. The game ain't over with yet. We're celebrating. Everything that used to be, it still is, just like it's been. So we have to kind of get in our minds. And if you have 5 blacks in a jury or 10 blacks or whatever, and they turn white on you, they'll come back with the same verdict those black folks came back with. We're mixed up and out of our minds. You know, nobody loves white folks like black folks. Understand that.
Well, you know what? I just, I'm hoping that with younger people and they said, child shall lead them. You know better that scripture than I.
Yeah, but they don't have that information right. And they're going to do the same thing. If they don't get the story right on what we've come through with and how that white supremacy is all about and how white folks think, they're going to make the same. Because if they go to college and have a white girlfriend, man, they figure they made it. If that's the end of that. I know a guy who was on TV, and I won't mention his name. He's dead now. He wouldn't go see his mother because she lived in West Philly. After he got a job at a television station and married a white lady, he wouldn't even go visit his mother. She lived in Philadelphia.
You know what? So I tell people the same type of information, indoctrination, really, programming that everyone is receiving. We receive it too. I mean, we watch TV just like everybody else watches TV. We listen to what's on the news. We all are. I'm not trying to say victims or anything. I'm not. But we are all those same recipients of information.
Yeah.
So if all you hear about is how beautiful this culture is and how smart this culture is and how much better human beings they are, then you have a skewed and misinformed. And you look at a Trump, for example, and just listen to the stuff that comes out of his mouth. He was the child of a white supremacist. He was the child of a man that was in the Ku Klux Klan. And all of the all of the crazy stuff that he talks about is based on what he was raised with, based on what he saw.
That's all he knows.
So I'm just saying, we see the same things,
yes,
we hear the same things, and it is you and I and others that challenge these stereotypical beliefs.
Let me tell you this real quick. Dr. Naylor, he's no longer, he's passed. He was from Louisiana. He came here to work with the school board. He said when he was small, the biggest thing he wanted to do when he got grown was taste that white water that came out of that white water fountain. Now, if you think that ain't indoctrination, Doc.
But then he tasted it and found it out it was no different.
That's it. See what I'm saying? But he grew up thinking that what?
But let me tell you what I was telling my husband this morning, and I just want to shout out to my husband.
Amen.
Rick, thank you, honey. It's been 2 years. We got married 2 years ago.
Check it out.
Yeah. So I'm thankful, and I just want to, share the love, and I just love him so much, and I just want everybody to know.
Amen.
So, but I was just sharing with him this morning. My mother grew up in a place in rural Virginia. And she and her family were poor. She was one of 12 children. Didn't get shoes until she was, in school. Walked in, the dirt yards. They, ate off the land, shot, animals for food, the whole nine. But she told me the story of how when she was a little girl, she had to walk to school, and then they would get a ride to a clapboard one-room schoolhouse. And in doing that, every day she had to drive past the brick schoolhouse for white children.
Yes.
And as we think about education, Brown versus the Board of Education was the lead case in that overturned segregation in the schools. But there was another case called Green versus New Kent County School District. My family's from New Kent County. So there's a placard in the country down in New Kent that has the listing of that case as well. And so after that, then they had a consolidated school district. But I'll never forget, and we should never forget.
No.
Thank you so much, Reverend Joe. Love you. Take care. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come to you, Ruby. Give us a call. 215-634-8065 is the number here in the studio. We'll be right back.
Brothers and sisters!
Don't miss The Source.
Weekdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
on WURD Radio.
WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
We filmed 15 Pennsylvania kids who were all waiting to be adopted and asked what having a family and permanent home would mean to them.
I want a family just to accept me for who I am, to be there just to support me whenever I'm needing it.
be matched with a family would be amazing. I won't be in the system all the time.
Visit adoptpakids.org to watch the video, meet the kids, and learn how you can become a foster or adoptive parent.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Support independent black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875 or visit wordradio.com.
You're listening to The Source on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Listening to WURD 900 AM. I'm Rhonda Hill Wilson. I'm an attorney here in the city of Philadelphia. I do trial work, and so we're working. We have several trials coming up. We're happy to represent families and loved ones who come to us seeking help, seeking answers. We're always happy to help and try to give insight, direction. Sometimes we can't help people. We do nursing home neglect and abuse as well as medical malpractice. So if you come to us for a criminal case, that's not what to do. Elder law, that's not what to do. But we're always trying to help give people information and send them in the direction that they need to go. So if you need a question answered or we can help in any way, give us a call at 215-972-0400. That's our office telephone number. There's somebody there who will help you or get the message to me. Now, I'll be on trial the rest of the week, so I may not be able to get right back with you, but, it's what we do, so we'll try to accommodate your needs. Ruby, thank you for your call.
Yes, I'm calling because I remember the news when she shot that man, that they said she knocked on the door. So, and then how can you not know your apartment? You're on one floor and he's on another floor. If you're knocking on the door, why are you knocking on the door if it's yours? Right, exactly. And then when she entered or when she went in, why didn't she put the light on? Right? She said it was dark. It was dark. She said she just started shooting. So why wouldn't you turn the light on so you can see who's in your apartment? And if you have a question, wouldn't you shout out like, hello? Yeah, who is that? Who's there? Why you in my apartment? Right. It don't sound... I agree with you. It's more to the story. So let me tell you, because I told Kayla that, so I'm reading the defense argument. Supposedly her defense attorney said that the plate around the door to his apartment was defectively installed, and that's why it didn't always fully shut. But that's his apartment. How about your apartment? Exactly. Then he said they took a survey of the residents of that apartment complex, and more than 90 tenants said that they unintentionally parked on the wrong floor or went to the wrong apartment.
And part of the problem is there's no obvious floor numbers at the entrance to the apartment complex from the parking garage.
And you can't count how many floors you. How many flights you went up?
So are all the lights out in the apartment complex?
Yes.
Are all of the lights out? There's nothing to distinguish any apartment from any other. And how long you been living there? Stop. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she has to stop, but she's lying.
She's lying. I just want to know. So what had happened was she was on the phone with her boo thing, who was also on the police force. But that boo thing said that they was getting ready to tamp it down. He was like, we ain't going out tonight. So I'm like, what is going on? So Kayla, my young producer, said to me, you gonna share with us what you said?
I said that she went up there to get her son, and he said no, and she got mad. And she probably ain't mean to shoot him. She probably meant to scare him, but she shot him. That's what I think.
A woman scorned. So
I believe she meant to shoot him. Didn't she empty her gun?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, you ain't say all that.
Let me see if she emptied her gun.
You don't mean to shoot somebody. One shot, two shots, that's it, up in the air or something. But she emptied her gun. So she meant to do what she did.
I think so, too. Thanks, Ruby. So, the brother was sitting at home in his shorts and a t-shirt, watching TV, eating ice cream when she entered the apartment. According to him, I don't know how him, maybe that meant the defense attorney, one of the bullets came to rest halfway between his stomach and his back. And its trajectory shows that he was either trying to sit up from the couch or was cowering when she came upon him. She moved into the building about 2 months before the shooting, and getting from the parking garage to his apartment, she passed 16 different units. Some adorned by potted plants, some had other decorations, and she just keeps on going, missing the clues. So the jury's going to be sequestered for 2 weeks. So we'll see what happens. It's 10:51 in the morning. You're listening to WURD. I'm Rhonda Hill Wilson. This is The Source. And we're talking about a few things this morning's show. We're talking about the impeachment, whether or not you believe this is a historic event that's going on around the issue of the impeachment of Donald Trump. We're also talking about the shooting in Dallas. And one of the things that I said, and we'll be talking about it more after we speak with our guests today, is the jury project, the Philadelphia Jury Project. And I think that's what we should call it, because we have to understand why our jury pools in Philadelphia are not reflective of the population of the city and what we can do about it. I know that there was a jury project or initiative undertaken by the court system, and it did research to understand and to develop information, statistical information, metrics, data. But I think that that's a really good first step. And we, post McMill and post other issues of mass incarceration, post questions of the exonerated five, and all of that, have to know and understand that a fair jury of your peers is imperative in a fair judicial process. In California, there was just a bill passed out of the Senate where it will allow felons, people who previously were convicted of felonies, to serve in juries. And we need to have a really good discussion about what that looks like here in Pennsylvania. And I want to shout out Representative Joanna McClinton about her bill that was recently introduced this past week in Harrisburg, and we need to support her find out more about it and support her, which will allow persons who have been pled or, convicted of a misdemeanor in Pennsylvania can never serve in a jury for their whole life. So you did something at 18, like got caught with a crack pipe or whatever, that's all. That's 5 years. You can never be on a jury. And for a community that is hyper-policed, hyper-prosecuted, hyper-put on probation, that means that when you go downtown, you don't see black people on these juries the way they are reflected in this community. And you very rarely see young black men. So we're going to be talking about that in the 12 o'clock hour. At 11 o'clock, we're going to talk with Brother Leon Williams, attorney at law. We're going to talk about education. Right now, we're talking about what is going on in Dallas. And do you believe this stuff that Bahia? Hey, thanks for your call.
How are you today? Bahia.
Good. Bahia, thank you for getting me clear on your name, sweetie. How you doing?
Fine, and you?
I'm good, sweetie.
Say, why do everybody go to, they was messing around? I think that she didn't like him. I thought he used to have his music up loud. I heard that he used to have his music up loud. Maybe she went down there for that situation and she just shot her.
Well, because she was coming in. So she was coming in for work. She hadn't been home. From what they're saying, now I'm just saying that this is what they're saying. She was just getting off work, coming from the parking garage, and she went to her apartment. She was confused, and when she went in, she saw this dark. Now he's sitting down, of course. So he saw this dark. How about he was sitting down, watching TV, eating ice cream?
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah,
so I'm just saying, I'm just saying there is more to the tale that somebody is not telling.
Exactly, it sure is, because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That's crazy.
I mean, really, because you pass 16 doors, and then you get to what you think is your apartment, and then you just go in and
start shooting.
So the television is on because he's watching television. So there's enough light in there. So then you say, well, what are you doing here in my apartment with your TV on, eating ice cream?
And if she's scared like that, she don't need to be a cop anyway.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, she ain't qualified for the job. I want her to protect me.
Listen, and why not? If you really afraid, and I'm gonna give you that, then call the cops, call for backup, and yell out. Aren't they supposed to be yell out? What do they yell out, Kayla? What they yell? Stop, police.
Exactly. She ain't want to yell stop, police. She wanted to kill a nigga.
Okay.
She's my friend. It seems like to me, because that's crazy. Your defense is crazy. It don't make sense at all. I don't understand that. But with Trump, yeah, they need to impeach him. He been needed to go. I don't know what's going on. Democrats is they just punk like. One thing I can say,
and he's punking them out.
Republicans don't care. They ride out for theirs. Well, that's one thing I can say about Republicans. They ride out for theirs. Democrats, you never seen by your people. Y'all never seen by your voters. One thing y'all want to stand by is these white people. Some white people don't vote for y'all. They don't like your policies. They do not like their policy.
So the thing is,
that's why they
no, you're right. And this is what I'm saying by you, that the fact of the matter is that, white supremacy is still in the Democratic Party. Let's just say what it is.
Exactly.
Okay? So when you have somebody who is just like, well, we can't, why? If they were black, they would be under the jail. We wouldn't be talking about this.
Jail. Obama, for example.
He had a tan suit.
Obama, for example, they disrespect that man totally, him and his wife.
I was going to say, we can see her arms. Now, Melania been in all kind of naked photo shoots.
She was nude. They said she was with that guy, the one that got killed in the prison. They said she was running little brothels too. Yeah, come run to L.A.
So,
Melania is a mess.
So I'm just saying, it's past time.
You are. Anytime you stand by a man like that, what are you?
You just
like you stand in some criminal. You know he a kind man.
You listen. Thank you, sweetie.
That's her husband.
You know, Bayou, I love you, girl. The reality is that you remember they wanted to impeach. Well, actually, they talked about impeaching Obama before he got in. They were looking for a reason. They were looking for a reason to impeach him. All right, it's going on 11 o'clock, and we're expecting our guest to call in. Kay, I think that might be him, baby. That might be our guest. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Brothers and sisters, don't miss The Source. Weekdays 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Word Radio, WordRadio.com, and the Word Radio app.
Join Word Radio for the final Aetna Medicare and CVS Pharmacy live broadcast, Wednesday, September 25th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at CVS Pharmacy, 6501 Harbison Avenue in the Northeast. Come check out and meet the Aetna field representatives who will have various giveaways for the community. While you're there, check out the Aetna Medicare Cora RV for various healthy and nutritious snacks and recipes. Wednesday, September 25th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at CVS Pharmacy, located at 6501 Harbison Avenue.
Save the date for our next EcoWord event, Environmental Justice Summit, Sunday, October 20th at Bartram's Garden, 5400 Lindbergh Boulevard, from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. Visit wordradio.com and stay tuned to Word Radio for more information. Drive in with Solomon Jones. Drive home with Charles Ellison. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Philadelphia, independent black media.
Attention. The following inmates, when names are called, will be transferred due to overcrowded conditions. What am I doing here? I've been serving time for 5 long years. Got no trial in sight. This justice they all talk about just ain't right. Has everybody forgotten about me? Will I ever be free? I'm just a prisoner, oh Lord. Just a prisoner, just a prisoner, just a prisoner.
All right, we are back, and it is 11:02, September the 24th, and we are happy to have with us on the telephone one of my friends, Leon William, attorney at law. We've been in this law game for a minute, Brother Leon.
Good morning, Robert. Right, we have been here. Wow.
So I'm good. I just want to let people know about this Dallas thing, and then we're gonna segue to your area of passion, of importance, of excellence. But the Dallas police officer is asserting her defense under a so-called mistake of fact defense, which is available under Texas law. And the defense attorney for former police officer Geiger is that she made a reasonable error when she believed she was killing an intruder in her own home and exercising her right of self-defense. So that's why she's saying she made a mistake. Thanks for calling, Leon. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I feel good.
So I am asked. Let me see. I asked you to call. I'm asking you to inform us. What is going on? What is the state of Philadelphia schools, Philadelphia school district, the administration, and the governance of our schools, and how is it out of our hands?
Well, you know, Rhonda, in the Philadelphia Inquirer today, there's a story I hope you read, and it was written by State Senator Vincent Hughes and somebody with the Power Group, and they had walked from Overbrook High to Marion High to highlight the disparity in funding, the state funding. They argued for a fairer funding formula. My problem with this argument is that that it's not the funding, but it's who gets the funding. So the state could give us $1 billion more dollars. But if we still have an appointed school board here in Philadelphia where one white man appoints all 9 members of the board, then it does us no good. It's like you having an employer. You're arguing for a raise. But the employer says, oh, you're giving all your money to your wife. And she doesn't allow you any say in how it's spent. So what good is giving your raise? What good is it for us to keep on banging the state about more money when we're the only school district in the whole state out of 506 where we as parents have no say in electing our school board?
So can we just step to that for 1 second? Why is it not unconstitutional for a city that is majority black and brown to be treated differently than other predominantly white school districts in this state? Why doesn't 1983 or the Reconstruction amendments to the Constitution address the fact that black people are being treated differently under the Constitution, under equal protection, than white people in the state are? Why is that not an issue? Why has it not been litigated, or has it been?
Well, I couldn't find any federal litigation on it. I did find some state litigation on it, and the state court holds the point that it's okay to discriminate by class, but not by individuals. In other words, Philadelphia, like other counties and cities and townships in the state, is considered by class. In other words, we're the only first-class city. They call us a first-class city. So you have first-class cities, second-class cities, third class, up to about 8th class, right? Now, the state Supreme Court says it's okay for you to discriminate as long as it applies to the whole class, not if it applies to individuals in the class. It's a ridiculous ruling, but that is the ruling, and I do think it's violating the federal Constitution, but you know how issues of comity and federal preemption and all of this stuff, federal court.
But maybe it's just time to have that looked at or litigated. I mean, really, I think, and maybe it's a matter of pulling together stakeholders and that kind of thing, but they treat Philadelphia differently for so many reasons. And, for example, and I know you are aware of this, with the Belmont Charter School and these charter schools in Philadelphia, let's just first talk about the fact that when you look at rich districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they might have like the charter schools that you do online or something. But they ain't got no whole lot of charter schools in Lower Merion Township.
No.
They ain't got no whole lot of charter schools out in Radnor or in Central Bucks West. They're all public schools on public dollars.
Right.
And they have art, they have music, they have all kinds of things that growing up you and I probably thought were just a standard part of public education that our kids don't have now.
Right. Now, it's actually, I was able to come up with 3 different ways that these charters discriminate against us and in traditional public schools. One was what you just mentioned, the Belmont School, which they have created a new class of schools now. Now, we had the traditional charter schools run by the district. Then we have the regular charter schools. And then now we have the so-called innovation schools, Belmont being the only innovation school where they can be free of all state and federal regulations.
How is that possible, getting my money?
Because, you know what, last month was a key month. We were all sleeping. One thing happened is they slipped into the education code an amendment. They slipped it in it passed 2 days later in Harrisburg, making Belmont the only innovation school in the state. And as long as it has a mental health facility on its grounds, they can be free of state and federal regulations, and they don't have to give academic tests. Now, the other takeaway you may not know, but the Philadelphia Hebrew Public Charter School just opened up last month in East Falls. This school is 72% African American, and one of this rich sponsors said that, and I quote, "It is a way to build Jewish identity." They teach Hebrew, 50 minutes, 4 days a week, 50 minutes a period. And the teacher teaches it every lesson only in Hebrew. And now I have nothing against Hebrew. I have nothing against groups coming together, put together a charter school that meets their interests. But this week, other groups have power to do these things. We don't.
To our children.
Our children, right.
So, I mean, can we talk about that? And let me just go back, because I think the point that you made about the, quote, innovation school, end quote, is a salvo. And I'm telling people this. Anytime the state can come in and basically, and which they've been doing, they run Philadelphia, Elk County, Beaver County, these counties, Schuylkill County, control what happens for our children in Philadelphia. So when you say that it's the only innovation school, but no, baby, it's the first.
That's right. That's right. They're opening up, like you say, us out. And this is what's going on. We have the church and state violation with the Hebrew school. We have the regulation issue where schools can operate now with no oversight.
Which means they can discriminate.
They can discriminate.
And it takes us back before Brown versus Board of Education. But what's worse, Leon, is they're using public dollars. The tax dollars that you and I and others in Philadelphia put in the coffers, somebody else is controlling. Isn't that what the Boston Tea Party was all about?
Absolutely. And, also you have the third area that I found where we didn't sleep is that I searched and researched. I could not find one study that dealt with how do charter schools economically affect traditional schools. In other words, when you look at all these schools shutting down and then auctioning off, most of that is because they lost students to the charter schools. And when they pull out money from the traditional schools, those schools are doomed to fail. They can't progress. They can't be good schools because of resources that's going to the charter schools. And charter schools, unlike traditional schools, they operate, like I said, virtually free of regulation. They don't.
No, not virtually. Actually.
Yeah. And they're not competing on a level playing field. In other words, I do think that they ought to be allowed to compete with traditional schools, but traditional schools are hamstrung by many barriers that the charter schools don't have. And so what happens? Again, most of our people are going to wound up in the traditional schools because there'll never be enough charter schools.
Well, in Louisiana, wait a minute, baby, but let me tell you, in New Orleans, all of the public schools are charter schools.
Yeah, Chester too, I think. Yeah.
So I'm just saying it is possible, and people who are not connected to their history are doomed to repeat it. This is the same situation for people who are not, for young people. Hear what I'm saying. Separate but equal never worked. And that's why Brown versus Board of Education was passed. Because black children were in inferior physical and inferior substantive educational schools. How is it different, Leon, 65 years later today? How are the schools in Philadelphia equal to Lower Merion, equal to Radnor, equal to Central Bucks West? It ain't about the charter schools. The heck out of here.
Here's my problem. Separate but equal. And when I was sitting in law school and that case came up, I couldn't believe that the court was saying that separate facilities are inherently unequal, because they were telling us that no matter what we give you, equal to us. The fact that you're separate means you can't succeed. I don't agree with that. I think we spent over 50 years trying to make the two systems unseparate, when we should have been putting all of that money and effort to make them equal. I do think that we should have said, to hell with integration, to hell with desegregation. Let's put billions of dollars in these black schools and these black institutions. Even if people think they can't be equal, let's try to make them equal. I don't think we did it.
And I think what makes them equal is an equality of resources. An equality, when I say equality of resources, I would like Overbrook High School to look like Harrington High School or Lower Merion High School and have the same resources that those schools, which are public schools, have. I was reading the article and I'm looking at it now that you suggest, and I say kudos to Brother Vincent Hughes and to the brother who also walked, I think it was his Holston. I'm sorry, I did.
Yeah.
And so they're charging. Listen, Overbrook doesn't even have running water in their science labs. I mean, so we can fool ourselves into thinking that we've made so much progress on this front. I challenge us to look at the history of blacks in education, whether you think separate but equal, it is separate. So I hear what you're saying, but the reality is it's a point we ain't got to fight about, because our children are still in separate and unequal schools in Philadelphia.
But we have been fighting to make them unseparate. That's the problem. The defect, so much so that Judge Smith, Doris Smith, found that they were setting aside 50% of the magnet school seats in Philadelphia for white, just for the purpose of desegregation. That's the only way you're going to desegregate urban schools. You're going to have to give white people magnet schools. They're not going to come here otherwise.
So let me tell you this. Let me suggest this. And maybe you want to get in on our call. This is Rhonda Hill Wilson talking to her good buddy, Leon Williams, Esquire. We've been in the struggle a long time.
Yeah.
But you might want to give us a call, ask some questions, give your comments at 215-634-8065. We're talking about the state of education here in the city of Philadelphia, talking about our children, talking about, where we are really. And again, that number is 215-634-8065. So one of the things that I think is really important in our discussion about equality is I have played tennis for a long time, and it's one of the things that I love. And one of the public dollar investments that we have in Philadelphia around tennis is the facility up in East Falls where the Legacy program is. Originally, that program was supposed to be the progeny of the Arthur Ashe tennis program, which was run out of Manio. My daughter played there. We enjoyed it, the whole nine. But when they moved the program over, and this is my opinion, folks gonna get mad, I don't care. I don't care. The program that was really set aside for African American children to learn about the game of tennis is now a program that attracts kids from all over. And I believe, Leon, that if we in the city of Philadelphia created schools much like for black children in African American communities, that people would come from all over. Now, that could create a situation that we see in West Philly where the schools are run by Penn and some other corporate interests. And so now those catchment areas are being gentrified. So what do you think about that?
Well, I agree with you. If you make anything quality, you're going to attract people. People are going to line up trying to get in. But I do think that that's what we should do. We are to make all schools world-class schools, and same as neighborhoods. We are to clean up this crime and this shooting in these neighborhoods, and you'll have people lined up trying to get in Philadelphia. But you have to have programs to protect the people that's already here. You can't allow gentrification. You can't allow these employers to just pay you slave wages and what have you. You have to fight for the people here as a conjunction to that.
I agree. Got Alan on the phone. He wants to say hey, and if you want to jump on the line, we're talking with Brother Leon, and we're talking about the schools here in the city of Philadelphia and what's going on, and we want to hear your views, your thoughts, your comments. No abuse, just love. Alan, thanks for your call.
Yes, good morning, and good morning to WURD audience.
Good morning, sir.
I'm a retired 35-year teacher from the Philadelphia School District, and my biggest contention is, even with the school board that they have now, and we're always comparing to Lower Merion and Abington and Upper Dublin and places, those people pay flat-out school tax, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 per year per family. How are you going to do that in Philadelphia? They can't afford it. That's why it's not equal.
You want to respond to that, Leon?
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree that we can't afford it. We have to be creative. There are things that we could tax that we're not taxing. Schools have to have tax money. And I would agree that if you look at the way things are traditionally taxed, it looks like we have a shrinking tax base. I think we have to be creative. I don't think it's anything to worry about. I think that we need to take control of these schools, make these schools quality, and we need
Where's the money going to come from?
I don't know. I'm not really a public official, but I refuse to believe that we can't find money to support quality schools.
It's not finding money.
So let me suggest this.
The money is not there. The people can't afford.
So let me hold on. Let's everybody just hold on for a second. We need to take a break. Alan, we're going to come back to you. Stay tuned. Leon, stay tuned. You're listening. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Reality check. Reality Check, hosted by Charles Ellison, Monday through Thursday, 4 p.m. till 7 p.m. right here on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. Are you a little grumpy because you need to see a dentist? You're afraid to smile. This is not fun. Be brave. Make an appointment to see a dentist. You'll look better, younger, and you won't be afraid to smile. Listen to a little music by Marian Anderson. Some dentists have quiet music playing in their offices.
Word Show on the Go. Tell us where you'd like to see the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, bring the Word Show on the Go team next. Visit wordradio.com. Click the Word Show on the Go banner and let us know about your community event, big news in your community, or an issue you'd like to see addressed. You can also catch up on the latest episode of Word Show on the Go or binge watch previous episodes. It's Word Show on the Go with the rapping professor, Dr. Aaron Smith, exclusively on wordradio.com. Word Show on the Go is funded in part by the Facebook Journalism Project Community Network. This is Word Radio, independent black media.
You're listening to The Source on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back. You're listening to The Source. I'm Rhonda Hill Wilson. We're here on Tuesdays from 10 until 1, unless it's the second Tuesday. And then we have Dr. Donnie on. At 1 o'clock, it's Reverend Al Sharpton. So we want you to listen to the wide range of opinion, geography that we have here on WURD. Encourage your friends, your family to listen in. They can listen in from wherever they are on the planet at WURDradio.com, our live stream, and on social media, Facebook at Forward, Twitter, The Gram, and Tumblr at onWURD. So we encourage you to encourage others to get a part of the information and transformation as you listen to WURD. We're talking with Alan, a longtime educator. We're talking to Leon Williams, an attorney who's been in the struggle around education and education parity, legal education parity for a very long time. And we thank all of you for listening. Thank you for participating, Alan. I wanted to address the issue with regard to the school taxes. And I think that one of the things that Leon was saying, and he's obviously an attorney, can speak for himself, is that let's talk about parity in funding. One of the long-standing issues, Alan, would you agree, not only in Pennsylvania but across the nation, is how we base access to education on real estate taxes, and of a need, if in fact that is the primary formula for funding schools, there will be always a wide disparity. In New Jersey, for example, they've challenged this for I don't even know how many years in terms of funding education, but on real estate taxes. But if you do it that way, then the poor will always suffer. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And look at the disparity of income in Philadelphia. We're one of the poorest cities in the country. So now we can't afford
more money, more taxation?
Well, we can afford what we want to spend money for. And I would also say that the governance issue, thank you so much, Alan, for your call. The governance issue with regard to the Philadelphia School District, poverty has nothing to do with the fact that in a poor county such as Northumberland County in the middle of Pennsylvania, or in the southwestern corner of Pennsylvania in Fayette County, they have school boards that are run by its populace. So money ain't got nothing to do with how parents are shut out in Philadelphia of governance. Is that fair to say, Leon?
I agree, and I think that the last caller, I think if you start off with the notion that something is not there, that's how you're going to conclude. I think that we got to be creative. I look at the sugar tax. Now, a lot of people don't like that, but it raised a couple $100 million in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways, Marcellus Shell and a lot of other ways. Of course, we have to go to the state, but we have to build alliances with the state. We have to go up there, and our legislators have to say, look, we're the balance of power. There's certain bills that you need us for. We have to bargain from strength and force some of these legislators up there to side with us on issues. And that one, that taxing that Marcellus Shell, I think is a way to make a whole lot of money for the Philadelphia schools.
Thank you for your call. We're going to go next to Wasette. Thanks for your call. And if you want to get in on the conversation, we're talking about our children. 215-634-8065. Wasette, thanks for your call.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Blessed.
All right.
Brother Leon, how are you?
Okay, Wasette.
I just want to say I'm glad that you have Leon on, because I think that this is an issue that we really don't give enough attention to. And I think that we have to spend more time flushing this issue out. Just real quickly with regard to the funding formula, Professor Neely Fuller said, if you don't understand racism and and global white supremacy, everything else will fool you. And so, and part of the reason why I'm saying that is because it's only a problem when it comes to black folks. If this situation was reversed, and it was white children that were getting the shorter end of the stick, they would be able to resolve this problem. So, and we got to understand that in the system of racism and global white supremacy, their goal is to always make sure that they're on top and they get the edge. So guess what? Legally, they already know, and we already know, the way the funding formula is set up, that their schools are always going to get the money. So legally, we have to understand that part of what we have to do is we got to basically change the laws to make sure that it's fair across the board. I think the other thing that we also have to we got to take a look at is that as we're looking, at these schools, and as we're looking at how our children, are being educated, and I understand that some individuals are anti-charter school. I'm not anti-charter school. I'm not pro-public. I'm pro for our children. And the unfortunate thing is that public schools, the way they are operated in Philadelphia, have just never worked for our children. And I just think that we have to do a better job of advocating. We really have to be honest. The black people that we have today are built in a totally different way than our ancestors were back in the 50s and 60s. We just allow so much, and we don't fight for anything. And you got to understand that the system that we're dealing with, they're going to give us exactly what we allow.
So let me challenge you for a second, Wasette.
Okay.
With love.
Listen, I know it. Listen, I love your show, and I know it's with love. So listen, and this is what this catharsis is about.
So in the 50s and the 60s, my parents and probably Leon's parents dealt with overt, in-your-face racism. And it caused and it created and it developed a certain, response it's harder to fight something that is not as apparent. It is harder to fight something that we don't see. And so now where you have integration, quote unquote, before with our parents, it was segregated. It was clear, the lines of demarcation. Now it's not so clear.
I would disagree.
No, I'm just that's my thought, and I think that, for example, slavery, you could see the change, you could see the overseer, but mass incarceration, it's a little harder to see.
But let's be honest. Look at our school. We can see very clearly, and you already made the distinction. You go online and look at those schools; they look like college campuses. Here you are. You come to Philadelphia. You got schools that have been around for 100 years. Now, you tell me, what would those white parents be doing in the suburbs if they found out that a teacher developed cancer as a result of those schools, having an asbestos, and we still got
tear it down?
Right, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. I understand that our parents were dealing with some things a little bit differently, but I think that there are some things that are like right out in our face. And to be honest, and I love my people, I think to a certain extent we have become complacent. And the fact that we allow our children to deal with some of the things that they deal with in this public school system is a disgrace.
It's unacceptable. Do you want to comment, Leon? Thanks for your call, Wasset.
Yeah, because I think both of you are right. I think we clearly can see the difference between Overbrook High and Marion High, Lower Marion High. But I think what you're saying, Rhonda, is also true that we can't see that the people that we put in power are facilitating this decline in our children's education. They are not fighting for us. They are not fighting to make our schools superior. We trust them too much, and that's the problem.
Gary, thanks for your call. If you want to get in on the conversation, 215-634-8065. We're talking about the schools here in the city of Philadelphia with Leon Williams, Esquire, who has been an advocate for decades on the issue of equity in education for our community. 215-634-8065. Thanks for your call, Gary.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
You're on.
Yeah, this is Gary. I wasn't on before.
Yeah.
Thanks. What I wanted to say, Brother Rossett, in my opinion, he was right on point. The racism is so clear, apparent. We seem to be ignoring the fact that that's what it is. Our schools are underfunded. Now, when we talk about the real estate tax, that should not be the means of funding our schools because, from redlining and all that, going to get poor communities are not going to have the resources to really have their schools up to par. And then you look at Philadelphia, majority black, big city. It's no way that our schools should still be in this position. And also something Brother Rossett said, we've had politicians in office for a long time, and why has our condition not changed? I grew up in Mansfield many years ago, and University City was one of the newer high schools. It's gone. And when I found out that was gone, I said, it's not.
Yeah, what year was that built? Gary, what year?
I think it was 74, 75.
Yeah.
Because when it was built, I was already in high school. I was at Dobbins. But the point is, a lot of my friends went there. All of a sudden, University City's gone. Now, if you go in that area, and even in Mansfield, I go down to community meetings down there, they're taking over. They're coming over, taking over Mansfield. I keep telling people, you got to get out. People, we don't get angry enough or involved enough to go out and hold these politicians accountable and stop putting the same people in office.
I think,
fighting for us.
Gary, whoa, hold on. I think that you make a valid point. And what I would say to people who are listening, who are concerned, who care, is that inform yourself. It's one thing to get angry. Anger is an emotion that comes and goes. You can't sustain it. It physically changes you, and often to your detriment. Stress kills. Yeah. But what we must do is inform ourselves, and as we inform ourselves and educate ourselves and our community and our children, then we know and can figure out the way of making change. But first we got to change minds in our community. What do you think, Leon, about that?
You're right. I think that we're caught up a lot in racism, which we know is there. It used to be against the law to even teach you how to read. We know racism has always been an albatross around our children's neck. But the real issue is, when are you going to stand up and fight to take over these institutions? That's the question. It's not a question of why the man is on the ground. He was mugged. The question is, why won't he get up?
When he has the ability to get up. That's what Marcus Garvey told us. Us, you mighty people.
And that's worse than racism, the fact that we have the ability to change these things and we're apathetic. That's the problem.
Can I add something?
Sure.
You know, everything that's being said is true, but I look at our situation in this city and in this country. We're so distracted. Like, I love sports and entertainment like anybody else. However, I think that's where we put a lot of our energy a lot of times. You know, personally, I could care less whether it's Eagles, Phillies, or whatever win anything. When I look at the condition that my people are in. Also, when we talk about the school system, they refuse to teach our history in school, which our children should learn. So we as parents have to teach our children our real history.
Well, Leon talked about a school in East Falls that's opening or has opened that is centered around the Hebrew language and or culture of that community. And so is there any African American institution, Leon, in Philadelphia? Hello?
I'm sorry, you mean that's teaching
just like they teach in Hebrew and speaking in Hebrew, is there a school for black kids based on black culture like that in Philly?
Yeah, I think there are. However, you're not going to find a school up there in the Northeast where 72% of the students are white teaching Swahili.
It's not going to happen.
They're not going to. But we learn all their history. We have to learn all their history. Why do they exclude black history? That's insulting to me. And the fact that we put up with it and allow it, and the people who represent us
and pay for it,
they don't say anything. You should be out even engaging the community, trying to get your people together and organize them. We're too complacent. That's what I'm going to say. We're so complacent. We major in the minor instead of the major.
We're distracted. Thank you, Gary. Thanks for your call. We're distracted, but don't you think that's intentional? That ain't by accident. Leon, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back to you. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
All right.
Attention listeners, con artists have many tricks for stealing your money, but AARP is here to help you protect yourself and your family. AARP gives you the tools you need to spot and avoid scams. Learn about the AARP Fraud Watch Network and how to outsmart con artists before they strike. Use the scam tracking map to see the latest scams in your area, and sign up for prevention tips and alerts from law enforcement. To learn more about AARP in your local community and what they're doing to protect consumers right here in Philadelphia, visit aarp.org/Philadelphia.
Be heard. Want another way to join the conversation?
Follow us on social media
using the hashtag onWURD.
Be heard.
Stay connected to WURD Radio.
Independent Black Media.
At Dietz & Watson, we've spent over 75 years focusing on the details. This can be traced back to our founder, Gottlieb Dietz, who learned how to make franks and sausages the right way in Germany. Today, each one of our delicious offerings is meticulously crafted using perfected details. Because if it isn't good enough for our family, it isn't good enough for yours. To us, the details make all the difference.
You're listening to The Source on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Yes, this is the ghetto. Showing up now.
listening to 900 AM WURD. We are so happy that you're with us today, this morning, and we have on the line with us Leon Williams, and he's an attorney here in the city of Philadelphia who's been working on the issue of education in the African American community for decades. And we salute the work that you do. And I think you have to give people, their props while they can hear them. So I'm going to send my props out to you, Brother Leon.
I hear him.
Give me my flowers while I can smell them.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to follow up with what the comment that was made by Gary. Do you have any thoughts about that, or did you want to respond?
Well, I hear him saying several things, but lastly, I hear him saying the same thing that I'm saying, that we are more threatened by our failure to organize and communicate and cooperate with each other than we are by racism. That may be hard for people to believe, but we have to clean up our own community. We have to take over our own schools. And in that way, if we want African history taught, we'll be in charge of the curriculum. We have to be in charge of the teachers, charge of that $3 billion budget. We have the ability to do all
Do people know how much the budget is? How much again? Can you just tell us? Because there's this idea that we don't have no money. That, to me, that's a lot of money.
The last figure I saw was $3.4 billion. It is a lot of money. And that's just the operating budget. And that doesn't include the capital budget, which they use for fixing schools, building schools, and they go on Wall Street for that, sell bonds to get that. So it's a lot of money. And the question is, listen, that school district is only 15% white students and like 85% students of color. Yet the school teachers and administrators represent 2/3. There's something wrong there. These teachers and administrators, they don't send their kids to those schools, the public schools in Philadelphia. They drop their kids off at private and parochial schools and suburban schools. And then they come here. And they are in a strange position now. They have to teach our children to compete with their children and run their children out of work. And most that you can see the contradiction and the conflict in that. We should control our own children's education.
I agree with that. And especially so since everybody else in Pennsylvania gets to do it. I mean, you don't want to go there all the time, but there is no other way you can view it, is that black people in Pennsylvania, we are told we cannot control anything. We're going to go to Maurice. Thanks for your call. Two. Hey,
How
Maurice.
You doing today?
I'm well. How are you, sir?
Well, I want to respond to you both as don't believe the hype, okay? We know our mayor is a liar, and why we keep falling for the same hype. I heard right through this station months ago, or maybe over a year ago, that we was going to get $3 billion. I mean, it's been broadcast over this station many a time, but nobody's paying attention. We just stand there and get run over all the time.
Why? Why do you think that is, Maurice?
It's not like they have to rebuild these schools. I mean, they're not paying a mortgage on these. These buildings been around for 100 years. So what are they doing with the money? How come we don't have instruments? How come we don't have the proper teachers and the nurses and all that? I think one child died because we didn't have the right nurse. Come on. You know, what is going on with the schools? They act like every time they get some money, got to rebuild. And then the mayor...
You there? I think we lost him. We didn't cut him off. So, but Leon, I think you got the essence of his question.
Yes, and I'd like to answer him. Why don't we have instruments? Why don't we have a school that don't have paint, lead paint chips falling off the wall? Now, why don't we have teachers who teach objectively regardless of their racial point of view? Because we don't control the board. Schools are run by a board.
You can't put a group of hacks on the board beholden to the mayor and expect anything done.
Well, I think that was clear. Let's go. We're going to go. I mean, I think that's clear. And just so that people do know, there was a lawsuit filed, and I'm just looking at it now. There was an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer back in 2018 that talked about a landmark case brought by the Education Law Center, Parents, and Public Interest Law to, and alleges, and the lawsuit was filed in 2014, that alleges that the state is violating its own constitution by failing to adequately educate children and discriminating against children based on where they lived. And originally the case was dismissed by the Commonwealth Court. And people, you need to know how important it is. In Pennsylvania, you elect judges. They're trying to change the formula for the Pennsylvania Supreme Court so that it will be totally and permanently, based out of the Republican districts. But anyway, the Commonwealth Court dismissed the case originally back in 2016, I believe it is. But the Democratic Pennsylvania Supreme Court reinstated the case. I'm not sure where the status of that case is. I'll try to find out and perhaps have somebody on to talk to us about it. But there is already a recognition that there is disparate funding of schools of color in Pennsylvania, because it wasn't just Philly that was a part of that lawsuit. It was also William Penn School District, which we know is predominantly black. We're going to go to back to Matt. Thanks for your call, Matt.
Yes, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good. Just giving a call. I'm actually 51, and I went to West Philly High. I did have a chance to study African American history with the late John Skeet. He was my teacher in 11th grade.
Oh, okay.
So, but moving right along, I'm a single father. My son is 26 now, so I had to take it and look back. And I took a shot. I said, you know what, I'm going to have to get him out because I've seen the schools failing even when I was in school in the 80s. Then to make it clear, he went to Plymouth White Marsh High School. They just put a $40 million extension on their school. If you ever see Plymouth White Marsh High School, it looks like a university.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to that is to validate where I'm coming from, like everybody said, you got to start voting these people out because right on Fayette Street in Conshohocken, my man, Vincent Hughes, got a satellite office there. So what's the difference between Plymouth White Marsh High School and the schools that you represent down here in Philadelphia? Thank you.
Do you have any comment, Leon, on that?
I think he's right on point.
We have, yeah, go ahead.
Only thing this difference between state funding and local funding, and in the Plymouth case, is probably not because they're getting more money from the state. It's because their locality spends more money on their schools like they should.
And let me just tell people, because I heard the issue with regard to age of schools. If one travels overseas, you see these castles that have been existing for hundreds of years. Buckingham Palace, when did they build that? So the issue is not necessarily the age, it's the maintenance. Because you can have a new building, a new house, and if it's not constructed well, it will fall apart very quickly. And you can have older schools, like a Overbrook or whatever have you, that's made out of stone. You couldn't even build Overbrook High School again with the materials that have been used in a lot of these schools. It's not just the construction, it's the imagination of what a school can and should look like. They're redoing the Bulletin Building down this whole new Schuylkill Yards, which will be your daughter's district, right?
I believe so.
So they just took off all of the frontage of that building. They're going to make it all glass. So you can take older structures and update them and make them welcoming and warm. They ain't going to tear down Buckingham Palace to make a new palace that's modern and nice. So it's not the age, it's the maintenance, and it's how you upkeep it and your imagination for what space can look like. Rebecca, thank you for your call.
Thank you for taking my call.
And thank you.
I've been listening for years, us talking about the schools, and I have a question. Maybe I missed something, but back there a couple of years ago, they were saying how the parking authority is supposed to contribute a certain amount of money to the schools, and that they weren't doing it. Did they ever start doing it? And another thing, we've been talking about the lead and asbestos in the schools for more than a long time. Now all of a sudden, now it's the teacher got sick. Now I have all sympathy for the teacher, but our children have been getting sick over the years.
Yes. Leon, do you want to comment? Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Yeah. Her first point, I believe, was what was it? I forgot.
It's okay. She was saying the parking authority and them getting the money.
Parking authority, yeah. I understand that they were supposed to give the schools $20 million a year, but they had only been giving them a couple million. Is what I understand. And the Republicans run it. The Republicans up in Harrisburg is against our schools here in Philadelphia, and they're not going to do anything to help us.
They actually don't like Philadelphia. Can we just call it what it is? Philadelphia is black, and to be very clear, there are a lot of folks up there that's just racist. Can we just call stuff what it is and just say, instead of saying the state like it's some benign entity, it's the state-run legislature, which is run by Republicans that don't like people of color. And if you're confused about that, listen to the garbage that Trump talks about. I ain't saying all Republicans, but too many. If you have an idea that Philadelphia should be treated differently, and you do, because Philadelphia is the only district that doesn't have its own elected school board, how can you look at it any other way?
Right. And her second point was about the lead and the asbestos and what have you. And she's right. We've known that for years. And if you look at the records, the maintenance records, like I did, the Philadelphia Inquirer did a story called Toxic City, where they went through all of that. That's been around for years. And they've been claiming that they were trying to fix it and what have you. And now, since they have, the contract, the union contract runs out the 31st of August, next August. And now they're gearing up. And they're trying to use, the union is trying to use this, that because of one teacher who apparently got mesothelioma, I think they call it.
Mesothelioma.
Yeah. And because this one teacher has possibly been affected negatively by it, they're up in arms. But our children have been sitting in these schools deteriorating for years. And they finally found out around that lead poisoning can lower a child's IQ. And think about how many children who are failing or who were failing in the past. And
you can't rent a lead-based paint apartment in the city. Why should a kid be able to sit in a school with lead paint? That doesn't make sense to me.
Right. And they knew it. The red paint. They know this. You can look and see this stuff falling off the walls. They know it's tested for lead. And they say, the government says that above a certain level is harmful, but your kid can ingest in a certain amount, what have you. And the studies, when they went in there, they found out that the contamination level was in one case hundreds of thousands times what the federal guidelines were. So,
it's crazy. Do you have a few more minutes to spend with us, or do you have to run? Okay, good. We're going to take a break because we're coming up against the 12 o'clock hour. We want you to stay tuned. An important conversation that we're having about our children. I know I'm a Leo. I'm a lion. You don't want to mess with a lioness's cubs. And we're talking about our children. We want you to stay tuned. We're talking to Leon Williams. We're talking about the state of Philadelphia schools, the school district, the importance and the love that we have for our children. We want the best, and we're not getting that right now. We want you to stay tuned. We'll be back on the other side of the hour.
If you want to start your morning with mindfulness, motivation, and inspiration, tune in to Daybreak with me, Helana, here on WURD Radio, Monday through Friday from 6 to 7 a.m. I'm a health and wellness coach with over 15 years experience helping people to transform their lives. On the show, we talk health and wellness 360, from getting your mind right to getting your money right. So let's rise and shine together right here on WURDradio.com, 96.1 FM, 900 on your AM dial on Daybreak every morning.
If you're looking for a great-paying part-time job with flexible hours, check out 2020 Census Jobs. You may have another job, or not. You may even be retired or looking for some extra income, but you can also help make sure that everyone gets counted. So apply today at 2020census.gov/jobs to help strengthen your community.
Save the date for our next EcoWord event, Environmental Justice Summit, Sunday, October 20th at Bartram's Garden, 5400 Lindbergh Boulevard, from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. Visit wordradio.com and stay tuned to Word Radio for more information. We are progressive and proud and interactive. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at onWURD. This is Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Streaming live at wordradio.com.
And we're back. You're listening to WURD 900 AM. I'm Rhonda Hill Wilson, and this is The Source. We're here until 1 o'clock this afternoon. And at 1 o'clock, we have the Reverend Al Sharpton, and he will be on until 4. And so we want you to listen all day to the offerings that we have here on WURD 900 AM, 96.1 FM. And we have with us for a little bit more, and we thank you so much for being with us and imparting your wisdom and what's going on in your experience to our listening audience. My people suffer for a lack of knowledge. That's what the Bible says, and I think if we knew better, we would do better. And that's just my belief. I just have so much faith in us. I do. I have hope for us. I'm not feeling disturbed, other than knowing that we have to find a way of keeping WURD radio alive so people can get information. It is the information that allows us to know what is going on with one another. Because so often, these struggles we face, whether it be in education, whether it be in law, and we think it's just us. And we don't know or understand the universality of this struggle against racism, because it's gotten very quiet, very discreet, very sophisticated. And yet we have sisters who are trying to get their young ones, their loved ones, into schools, and they get prosecuted and they go to jail for 5 years, whereas you got other folks in varsity blues trying to get their kids in the Ivy League schools, and they get 2 months probation, a week. So we know the value of a good education. For people who did not know, and for people who are hopping around talking about affirmative action and how black people are taking advantage. I had somebody come up to me in law school talking about I took their friend's seat. I'll never forget that. I was like, do you know what my grade average is? Do you know what my LSATs are? I need you to get out of my face right now. But I'm just saying, 43% of Harvard's entrants are legacy, donors, children of the schools, teachers, and administration. 43%. So you mad that you got, 8% seats set aside for excellent black children and brown children? Really? That what we talk about? So I think, Leon, if people knew more information, we would be empowered to demand what we are paying for as with our tax money and entitled to. But thank you for being on the line. We want to just shout you out again. Leon, tell people about your history in education and the struggle about education and what you're doing these days in that regard.
Well, a lot of people don't know I'm a certified teacher. I'm a reading teacher. I've been certified for over 30 years, about 40 years. I taught in the public school. My master's degree is in educational psychology. I've studied all of the learning theories and what have you. I started off as a teacher in the school, but when I saw what was going on in those schools, and I saw that without a board that cared and without administration that are supportive, that I could do nothing in the system. So I went on to law school. And even though there's really not much money in so-called being an education lawyer, I didn't do it for money. I was constantly drawn back to this problem of education. When I started doing the research and I found that how Philadelphia is treated and how we have educational apartheid here. We have a system where whites are almost non-existent, but they control our education. They decide what our children learn. They decide which schools are going to be closed and which is not. When I saw all of this, I said, I'm going to stay in this fight. I'm going to try to make a living in law, but I know by challenging the system like I do, that it's going to be difficult in terms of, I've had a lot of ways to sell out, a lot of opportunities to sell out. I got a call one day at my office at Bob Ray. He said, Leon, it's about time for us to support you for something. I never followed through. I don't know what he's trying to tell me what I had to do or whatever. I supposed to offer you out to lunch or whatever. I just never followed through. I've had people saying that they wanted me to be their boy, so to speak. I knew I could have, if I had done it, I could have been like so many of our leaders. They get in there and they wind up in jail. I didn't want to do that. I said, no, I'm going to be a private practitioner of law. I'm going to try to make a living as best I can, and I'm going to have as my greatest asset my independence, where I can speak out and speak my mind, and I don't care who doesn't like it. And here I am.
And there we are. We're going to Greg. Thanks for your call, Greg.
Hey.
Hey.
Good morning. Good morning. How you doing there?
Good. Thank you for being patient and holding on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's my man, Leon Williams. It's Greg Brinkley. How you still, man?
Yeah, Greg. How you doing?
All right. I have a question, and I don't want to put y'all on the spot being black attorneys, but I think I have to. With the exception of you, Leon, I know that you've been out there. You're one. Michael Court is another, and I'm familiar with your work. First of all, anything that we do historically in this country and in the movement did not happen, cannot happen, and will not happen without black lawyers leading that charge. When I look at historical, the Bowsers and the Hickenbothams and Cecil Moores, they led a lot of this revolution, which brings me to a question. I know it's expensive. I got all that. I'm not suggesting that any lawyer should do it for free. But when I hear you say about the lead and the lead poisoning, and then you, Leon, you talk about the research about what it has done and how it has affected. Have you guys ever considered, with that information, filing a lawsuit just like they have done with the cigarette smoke, with Johnson & Johnson, and all those other entities that knew what it was doing? Because remember, we're forced to go to school. It's not like, like whatever the lead is doing to our children, we still, you can homeschool them, but what if you don't want to? What if you can't? And that child, by law, it has to go. So you're forcing the child to go to school, and you're not cleaning it up, and it's causing these things. So have we ever, or should we, or can we consider filing a class action lawsuit on behalf and seek money damages?
So I think that I hear you saying a few things, and let me just back into what you're saying, and give me just a second in order to do that. What I hear you saying is that lawyers are the leaders of the movement, and yes, they can be, but typically, in my understanding of other than a Cecil B. Moore, historically African-American lawyers have been an adjunct to the movement. That doesn't mean we can't be leaders, because we are in our spaces. But I think to say that you would expect that in a case where there's, and let me just give you a little bit of this as well. For example, Leon works in the education law space. I work in medical and nursing home parity spaces. So over the years, I have made a difference, and it may not be, tremendous differences, but in terms of changing behaviors in nursing homes, so that, as an example, when your loved one goes into a nursing home, you should have doctors and registered nurses doing certain behaviors and not having, for example, CNAs be overworked. So we are, we have to deal with this racism and sexism on many levels, and I'm in the medical space, nursing home space, doing that, and have made changes. Maybe not apparently so, and maybe I need to talk about the things that I've done in terms of changing law in these areas. But what you're talking about in terms of a lead paint class action, to bring these kinds of lawsuits, tobacco lawsuits, ovarian cancer lawsuits, lawsuits involving products and devices, it is very, very expensive. And when I say very expensive, you typically can't just go to court and say, here, ta-da, this is what I found. You have to have epidemiologists, you have to have experts. And experts can be very costly. So you'd have to have pulmonologists, you'd have to have the types of resources that most African American attorneys don't have. You have to be able to capitalize yourself. You have to have law students. You have to have lawyers. So in the personal injury, plaintiff personal injury realm, typically there are certain law firms that have the wherewithal, the capital, the ability to stay the course for 5 to 10 to 15 years until these cases play out, but still be able to support themselves and others. And it's not easy. There are not many of us out here that are doing plaintiff personal injury, period, in the whole state. So I'm just saying those are the kinds of challenges. So can it be done? Yes. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, we shouldn't consider it, but as this is a capitalistic system, and that's what is required in order to bring that kind of lawsuit. And then if you win, that's fine, but sometimes you don't win. Can you, as an African American attorney, capitalize a situation and then lose?
I guess I'm not suggesting, I appreciate you putting it there, because I understand it, and I'm cognizant of the realities, of that. But what I was saying, when I said leader, I certainly don't mean to put that on the attorneys, but I know that those of us that are activists, and I certainly have my history of doing it, and I understand struggle ain't easy doing this type of work, and I didn't know that was the type of work that you did, because I was the president of the National Action Network Philly chapter, and we had to address a couple things in the nursing home industry, which is a whole nother subject, which is.
Well, call me, because I got the tapes, I got the receipts, video, invoices, everything.
No, I would say I commend you for doing that, because that's so needed, and people know what's really went on there. But again, at least what I'm saying is, it can't happen, regardless of what we have to do, but it can't happen, and it's never happened without that legal support.
I agree with you.
That's all.
I agree with you. And what we need to do, perhaps, Leon, and maybe we need to talk, is have a summit of African American attorneys that will address or look at these kinds of issues, so we can either help or give direction to community about how to access the system, legal system, in order to get justice. And I think that's a fair conversation for us to have. Thanks for your call, Grit. If you need to call us, it's in my office to give me the tea on what you're talking about. The number is 215-972-0400. Leon, give out your number.
All right, I'm at 215-732-0180.
Okay. And that's Leon Williams. Sis B, thanks for your call.
Yes. Good morning.
Good afternoon, sweetie. How you doing?
Ooh, okay.
We on fire.
We are on fire. Good morning, Rhonda, Kayla J, the inimitable spiritual producer and musical maestro. And Rhonda, we got to say congratulations, because in 2 weeks we'll be calling her Minister Kayla J.
I've been calling her Reverend. Listen, Kay, how long I've been calling you Reverend Kayla J? Since I met you, I done called it out to the highest order. Lord, we need her.
And our young people will benefit tremendously.
And I done put something else on her. Okay. And she'll talk to me later on about it in a couple of years. I call her Reverend Dr. Kayla J.
There you go. You have put it out there, and trust me, the atmosphere will feed it, because the spirit that she exudes is going to definitely take her there.
And she can bring a healing. I'm talking to you to your face. Yes. I don't talk about folks behind their back. I'm from West Philly. That's not what we do.
The little people and the big people too.
Yes, but she has a calling for the youth. And there are so many young people who need a healing. And it's one thing to do it as a minister, but it's another thing to have folks come into your office and sit down and have that healing for them, and you get a check. Just saying.
And we wanted, speaking about checks, we're talking about education. That's a good thing, because we're going to end up with the check.
Yes.
We can no longer justify the unjustifiable and rationalize the irrational. And I've heard our Word family today speak on education. I am right there. Gary, Wassett, Maurice. Look, we won Brown. And no sooner than we won Brown, 85% of the teachers in the country are Caucasian. This is the national average. Only 7% are African American.
And do you know and understand that there is a reason for that?
Yes.
Okay, because these standardized tests that they've put in to, they have no relationship or connection to the education, the heart, the encouragement that is given to children. What do you think about that, Leon? What is the testing done to the black teacher in these schools?
Well, I think that they've been working overtime trying to keep black teachers, especially black men, out of these schools. And, when Sandra Duncan came to the board, I had a meeting with her about how they were using the written test to disqualify so many African-American prospective teachers. And to her credit, she ended that written test. There's no more written test to be a teacher. But yeah, they don't want, especially the kind of teachers who are going to teach the truth to these students. They would rather have the type that will continue promoting their end. So, yeah,
or not caring or not exhorting. I remember going into a classroom, and it's been a minute because I'm working every day, and the young people, and they were like teenagers. They would turn their back and talk. I said, "Excuse me," like black grandmothers do. And how about everybody turned around and says, "Because what you ain't gonna do is waste my time." And I expect more. But if you don't give our children or any child the expectation of excellence, they're not going to perform. I'm sorry.
But the issue, I think, really is about the deployment of our public resources. And I'm going to give you a more contemporary version of this. We pay the soda tax, and guess who gets to send their children to preschool with the benefits of the soda tax? The same people who are getting the 10-year tax exemptions get to send their children because there was no racial or economic component to how that money was expended. In terms of whether or not the money is there, the money is there. It's the allocation of the money that is the issue. Sivan, I say we have 5 classes of people in this country: the uber rich, the political who do their political bidding, the media, which is their publicity arm, the military, who keeps us all in check, and the 99% of the rest of us who pay for those other classes to be able to do what they do with no benefit to ourselves. We need, as a community, to weaponize our dollars, and we need to weaponize our vote to the benefit of us. And one of the things that we haven't done, and we are going to have to start doing, is calling out those people who look like us, who think they part of the political class rather than the class of us that sent them there. We have got to begin to make those who stand up for us
accountable.
That's right, and speak on behalf of us and bring back benefits to us. We must keep word going. We must keep independent voices and information, because if word were not here, our family discussion that we've had this morning could never have occurred, and we could not be enlightened about what is happening and how it's happening, and that the answer is right there in front of us.
It is us. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. We need to be able to elect our own school board and have the agency and autonomy necessary
to make decisions for our children. Thank you so much, sister. Any comment, Leon?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with her wholeheartedly. And I think that also a lot of people don't know that every elected school board in the state has the power to tax. So we would have the power to tax.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's why Philadelphia right now can't tax. The school board can't tax. They used to tax, but the Supreme Court said you cannot tax somebody unless you're elected. There's got to be representation based on taxation. So if there's an elected school board in Philadelphia, that school board will have the power to levy tax, just like any other elected body does. And of course, they shouldn't overtax, and that's another way to keep an elected school board in line, because if they tax the people too much, the people ought to run them out of office, just like you would do if the mayor taxed you too much. But the point is that the caller was talking about how the soda tax is allocated. That's because the mayor controls it. If the elected school board controls that tax, that board can make sure that tax is used for the right purpose.
Hold on, we're going to come back. Leon, you are just dropping the science, the knowledge, and everything else on us this morning and into this afternoon. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Get your money straight.
Get my money right.
It's Solomon Jones and Akbar Hassan.
Fridays on Wake Up with Word.
7 a.m. till 10 a.m. Hosted by Solomon Jones. Exclusively on Word Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Streaming live on wordradio.com and on the Word Radio app.
The stadium is ready. The team is ready. But are you ready for the Eagles' favorite shake? The Shamrock Shake? It's a delicious Philly original that's ready to rock the taste buds of Eagles fans across Philadelphia. Made with creamy vanilla soft serve, mint-flavored deliciousness, and topped with light whipped topping. Fly, don't walk to get yours today. At participating McDonald's for a limited time only.
Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
Mark your calendars for Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church's anti-human trafficking 5K walk run on October 5th. The walk will start at 8 a.m. at Memorial Hall, West Fairmount Park. For another way to participate, to make a donation, text Enon Tab to 77977. For more information, visit enontab.org. Enon, a place where people encounter God. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, Senior Pastor.
I've had some.
You're listening to The Source
on Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
And we're back. You are listening to WURD 900 AM. We're on Facebook Live, everybody. Woohoo! I'm shouting out to Derisha Miller. Hey, girl. And for those who may be following us on Facebook Live, thank you. You know, hit us up. Let us know if you want to send us a message. We'll try to answer your questions that you send on Facebook Live. Minister Muhammad, if you want to give us a call back, and we'll try to get you right on. But in the meantime, we're going to go to Tyrone, right? Hey, Tyrone, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Leon, long time. We used to have the meetings up in Germantown in the morning, on Sunday morning.
How you doing, Tyrone?
Okay. Let me go into something. I used to be a school bus driver before I retired in Upper Darby. In media, they started with the school bus. They never had gasoline buses. They had all propane buses. They did not want that gas fumes in the community, nor around the children. So it started with them there, to show you the interest that they have in their community and in their children.
You mean so as not to have lead around their children? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying to you that we're talking about lead paint and we're talking about asbestos. They didn't even, from the time the child got on the bus, was not going to deal with gasoline fumes because they had propane tanks rather than gas tanks on the bus. It burns clean. It does not give no fumes off. That shows you the interest in the children.
And we have that interest in our children.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that shows you how far they go to the interest in the children. Of course, we have an interest in our children. We're talking about lead paint and asbestos. They don't even let it start from the time the child is out even on the street with the buses. And we can do the same. We can do the same. We don't have to put up with that.
Well, I think that's what Leon is talking about. Do you want to comment to that, Leon?
Yeah, because that's a board decision. Their school board sat down and says, we're not going to have this with our children. But if you don't control your school board, your board is controlled by people who are basically don't even live in the city. I'm talking about the people who select them and influence who serve on the board. They don't have children in the school. And that's the problem. We have to control our board so we can make decisions like that.
And I wanted to finish up with this. I live in Eastwick. And most might not know or they might not understand what's going on out here. We have two schools, Contact School and Pepper Middle. Both schools went down under the floods. We went to the school board, and this was a big battle, about them selling Pepper Middle School. because they want to tear it down. We were telling them, if you're going to tear the school down, you have to replace it, because part of us being in the federal urban renewal area was that it had to have these schools in the area to do the urban renewal plan. What they done, well, it became so intense that they told us that they want to get rid of the Pepper Middle School, which is now standing. Now that needs $19 million if it could even be built. It's sitting in a floodplain. Comtech's sitting in a floodplain. We lose 2 schools. And then they were going to turn around, the school board, sell the Pepper Middle School for $2 million with 47 acres of land.
Wow.
We recorded it was going to be a land deal. So when they say they don't have the money, they were letting $9 million go right off the table.
Well, the same thing they did with the police headquarters. They are reckless with our tax money, and that's money that you and I work very hard for. Exactly. Leon, thank you so much, sir, for your call. What do you say to that? They got me twisted.
You're right. You are right. They are reckless with our money, and they don't care. Let's just look at the situation last week. All of these students from Philadelphia walked out of school to join an international movement against climate change. These students this was to me, that's a class that was really a course by itself. These students were enlightened enough to be concerned about saving the world. And what did our school board do? They marked them all out.
But they were really present and awoke.
Yes, they were.
Let's go now to Mamie. Thank you for your call.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, and Leon is still on the fight, because I remember about 20 years he's been on the fight about the elected school board, so he is persistent.
Because the fight doesn't end. We still don't have one.
Right. And listening, when I thought about the public school and the charter school, I say to me the only difference is the charter school, you're not going to come in there, because I had grandchildren that go to charter school. Some of these parents that want to come to the school and rule it, think they're going to rule it and can say all of this and cut up in these schools in front of their children and other children. A lot of these charter schools, they're not going to have it. They're not going to have it. There are rules and regulations that you have to follow, and they give you the opportunity to speak if you need conference or something, but they're not going to have it. If they have to, dismiss your child because of your conduct, they'll do that, And I say some of these parents, I see them because I'm in the school, riding 3 or 4 schools, they come with pajamas on, shoes that they just slip their feet in. And then the same way, I said, oh, my God, what do the children have to look up to? And the school board, public schools, they don't have no dress code for these teachers. And some of these teachers come in looking like first one thing and then another. And this is what the children have to look at, and they trying to teach them. And I tell the parents, just like the other school, the private school and public school, you can have it also, because they have different funds and things that you can apply for your child to go to these different schools. Get out there and find out about them, Find out about them. Yeah. If you see something not going in your school, go down to the board. They go when they have meetings and voice your opinion. These shouldn't tell you voice your opinion. Where I live at, the tree has overgrown, so from these vacant houses and everything, the parents and children have to walk in the street. I said, why should you walk in the street? Why not call City Hall and get in the address?
Or your city council person. Right. Mamie, thank you for your call. What do you think about that, Leon? One of the things, what is the status, or what is the status of the parent association, parent teacher associations? What is that encouraged in these schools now? What's going on with that?
Well, I served on a school council at Gomper School years ago. My son was there. And I can tell you that basically all the school district want you to do is sell cookies and things like that. You could
want to be involved, but you're not going to be involved in selecting the principal or selecting the curriculum or other things. The principal of Gompers, who was black, used to call the cops on us because we're school council because she wanted us out of the school. We had to come in, and she wanted us to check with her first before we come in the building, check with the office. We said, no, we didn't check with anybody. We're on the school council. She called the cops.
Wow.
So I think that a lot of this stuff is set up just for form, just for, for appearance. But in reality, there is no genuine effort to reach out to parents, to get parents involved with what's going on in the schools.
I'm going to go next to Jacob. Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. Hey, Jacob, thank you for your call.
Hey, peace be unto both of y'all. How y'all doing?
All right. How you doing, Brother Jacob?
I'm stressed, but I'm blessed. And that last caller, she hit it right on the nose because I'm at a charter school. And, again, the standard, we got to lift the bar and look like the public school is just satisfied with warehousing our children and getting paid for them, But, on the politics thing, the great Mary Mason told us years ago, where's our scorecard for these politicians, right? We ain't keeping no scorecard. And once people like Brother Leon wake us up, we got to stay woke. We know they're creeping. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've heard people on the air, one of the men, the professors or whoever they are, a white guy, and he said that he was white. He said that he helped make up the test that they test our children for, and he said they're racially biased. Now, he's one of the men that make... Now, we know all of these things. Now that we know what we're going to do, what the song say, now that we found love, what
we're going to do about it. So let me just suggest what can be done.
Yes.
So as we learn about the disparities in testing, then as an example, we can go to our elected officials. Does everybody who's listening here know who is your city council person? Who are the city council representatives at large? Who is your state representative? Who is your state senator? Who is your federal representative? Who is your federal senator? You know who the president is for a minute anyway. So I'm just saying. But I'm just saying you have to know the political part of it as well. And then, are you a member of a faith community? What is your faith leader doing and saying? There was a time in the 50s and the 60s when the power structure feared our faith leaders. They feared Reverend King. And now it seems that you don't hear or see the leadership out of that community in a way that I saw growing up. So there are things we can do, and we just have to recreate in our minds the way that we were able to attain and maintain power even for a minute before they dropped all them drugs and guns and all that stuff in our community.
So you're saying we're going to have to plan the work and then work the plan, huh?
I think so.
Thank you. All right. Peace.
Peace and blessings. Elsie, thank you. What do you think about that, Leon?
Yeah, all right. Veronica Joint has a great charter school there, and that's Veronica's brother, Jacob.
Oh, okay.
And I just want people to understand that I'm not against charter schools. But I do think you have to consider the effect of opening up more and more charter schools on what's being left behind and pulling money out of the traditional schools. And as far as your scorecard, Brother Jacob, here's one thing for it. The same Republican group that have been denying Philadelphia schools and trying to break up our schools, they gave $5 million to one of your state senators, The Susquehanna group, they call them. They gave $5 million to Senator Anthony Hardy Williams in 2010 to run for governor. So put that on your card.
So one of the things that I think is important too, Leon, is that as we talk about the issue of education, how would you recommend or suggest for people to get involved on this issue? What can an everyday person do to forward the idea and forward the reality of an elected school board here in the city of Philadelphia?
Well, I think that first, I think, and fundamentally, we have to get together and plan to take over these schools. We had a great opportunity when the SRC was disbanded. But our leaders stole us out again. They came with this, local control, local control. They kept saying local control. And people thought that meant that the voters or the parents somehow were going to control the school. But what we found was the same group that controlled our schools before the SRC is now in power again, doing the same thing they were doing before. So I would say there's no tolerance for anything other than taking over those schools, electing our board, putting good members on the board in there who are going to fight for us. Then, secondly, we have to get involved with the school. You can't just put an elected school board in there and go back to sleep.
Right. It takes work. We got to put the work in.
We got to put the work in.
Elsie, thank you for your call.
Good afternoon. Let me take you off the speaker.
Okay, thank you, because we're going to get a little feedback. We got to put the work in, folks.
Yeah. Here I am.
Hey.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
This is Elsie, and thank you. It's a wonderful program. Outstanding as usual.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And, of course, I always love listening to Leon.
All right.
Give us the rap sheet on the school district of Philadelphia and this state that has just deprived us of the opportunity to run our own and control our own schools.
And our own city, actually.
Yes, in our city. They controlled everything. They took the traffic court, right?
Parking authority.
The
ports.
They have the schools. You know, and we keep hearing this same story. And thank you, Leon, for bringing up the fact that, well, we had the SRC, which that wonderful group you had, the Marketplace of Ideas, in which we worked to try to get an elected school board in the city of Philadelphia. But what did? They changed the language. We said an elected school board in Philadelphia, and they came up with local control. So now we have this local control with some of the same people in control under what is known to be the bait and switch mayor. He tells us one thing. We were going to have stop and frisk when he became the mayor, and we still haven't gotten rid of stop and frisk. Then we were going to have this kindergarten that was going to be paid, and it was supposed to be addressing our children, needy children, not children whose parents are super wealthy. No, everybody gets it. So here we are, lots and lots of money from the soda tax, and we're not getting, was it 10,000 children I think they said were supposed to be included?
I'm not sure.
Well, it was a larger number that are actually receiving the benefits of this pre-kindergarten.
And it's in a particular geographic area of Philadelphia, as I understand it. Leon, is that so?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that either.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not either, but I just know that we say we're going to get one thing, and then when the deal goes down, we don't. And Leon and Ms. Rhonda, just wanted to say, when the school SRC was planning to close those 40 schools, which ultimately ended up being, I believe, 23 or 24, among the list of schools, I understand that several of those schools had never been properly maintained, just like I heard you refer to.
You have to.
And they didn't.
And that's what happens.
And that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, baby.
That's what happened with them. So they deteriorated, and of course, they was sold for a pittance, sold for hardly nothing. And here we are. Where's the money?
So can I tell you this? And I want people to really hear and understand what I'm saying. It's about the land. It has always been about the land. And it is about, this country was taken, if you will, for the land. It's about the land. And so we have to have representatives who are for the benefit and commonwealth of our children, who give us excellent products. Who buys a product and it continues to fail? And yet we spend our money every year, every month that you pay taxes, and I pay taxes, and I pay a lot of taxes here in Philadelphia. We have a failed product. So let's get real. Let's talk about that. Thank you for your call, Elsie. Leon, I'm going to say goodbye to you on the other part of this break. If you stay tuned, we appreciate you so much. Just stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Brothers and sisters!
Don't miss The Source.
Weekdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
on Word Radio.
WordRadio.com and the Word Radio app.
What's up, everyone? I know you know the word. No, not the station, but this word, J-O-B, that is. And our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you on their team today. They're currently hiring for production, packaging, and sanitation. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they're hiring right now. Check it out. They're offering fair pay and provide health and dental prescription plans after 90 days of employment. They're also looking to hire part-time and seasonal employees as well. Entry-level candidates are encouraged to apply. Call Scott Drummond at 856-754-0360 or visit amorosos.com for more details.
Support independent black media and join the Forward movement now at 215-425-7875
or visit wordradio.com.
Millions plan for retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to The Source
On Word Radio.
96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
I just want to thank our guest, Leon Williams, Esquire, and to you and to your family. I know that your wife works in education in the healthcare aspect of it. To your activist family, including the councilwoman-to-be, Jay McGautier, to all of what you have sacrificed over your life and the life of your family, we thank you. If nobody has said it, let me, and I'm sure people have, but I also want to thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate that.
And so if you were to have parting words that you want to tell our audience, can you share those thoughts, those parting thoughts, those not shots, but parting thoughts? Okay, you can put some shots in there too. That's okay. That's what we do.
Yeah. My parting thoughts would be that that racism clearly permeates public education. It's always been, and it probably always will in the country. But I think that we as a people should be able to organize and to pool our resources and cooperate with each other to put up effective barriers against racism. The public schools, as we know, has always been, adverse to us learning. One of the first things that the government did here was to pass laws to prevent us from reading. And we need to look at, I have a theory, a philosophy, that you find out what your enemy doesn't like, and you give them a double dose of it. And I think that we ought to take over the Philadelphia public schools. I think we can. And I think that when we do, we can put into place the kind of programs that will ensure that our children will be competitive in the future. And I'm just waiting for African Americans to say enough is enough.
In the spirit of Dr. Edward Robinson, I thank you so much. And we will have to make this a regular so we can report back to our community on hopefully some thoughts, some thought efforts, and some efforts about our children. And again, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. You had a great show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Be well. So I just want to remind people as we think about 400 years, and God bless you, sweetie. August 20th, 1619 was the first, they say recorded history, but if you know the history of Africans or black people on these shores, you know we were here long before even the 1600s. And if you don't believe me, check Spanish history, because I know some of y'all, they don't say it, you don't believe it. But in the 1500s, Africans were here with the Spanish, and they were going throughout the Americas as we know it. But we have to know and understand that our children are without price or measure, and all they need is the opportunity to learn, to read, to grow in a healthy way. So climate change is real, not only for our children, but for all children. And I have to tell you that the march downtown on last week, I've never seen, my office is right downtown at 15th and JFK. And I see all kinds of marches. I saw them march after Trump won the election, and everybody decided that, they were outraged. And as well they should have been if they voted. But I can tell you that the climate change march with the young people last week, I've never seen so many people marching in my whole life down there at that corner. So climate change is real. Our children are affected by it. They should have been participating in it, so in order that they can advocate for a clean planet that they're going to inherit. The opportunity to learn and grow will add to the stability of our community. The participation of parents and in the joy of learning, it is without measure. But remember the history. You have to know that there were slave children on those boats coming over from Africa to America. It wasn't just adults. I mean, did we forget our history? We cannot. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you for spending this time with us. We've talked in some measure about the jury system, and you know what? We'll come back to that another day. I'm going to bring on some guests to talk about how we can examine the present system of jury selection in Philadelphia. We're going to talk about how people can participate, including jury and court of business daycare, and how our tax money and the monies that we pay for fees can support equal justice here in Philadelphia. And as I said, if you don't have a jury of your peers, which is enshrined in the United States Constitution, then you're not getting the full measure of citizenship. And that's what we've been struggling with and struggling for the last 400 years. And I ain't no ways tired. If we have to keep struggling, then that's what we have to do. But we have to bring to the fore that we are citizens of this country and entitled to every measure of protection that the United States Constitution and its amendments and following regulations and law tells us that we're entitled to have. So, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kay. Do you have any parting comments? You know, what did you do that at? What you ain't got nothing to say? No, girl. Okay, so anyway, congratulations to you, Kayla. And I understand that in a couple of weeks, your name is going to change. And so we're so excited about that. I'm so proud of you. And all our young people out here who are trying to do things, trying to level up. Is that what they say? What do they say? Level up? Go, Granny. Go, Granny. Trying to level up and get to a high level. Our children will do what they see us do. So if they see us out here struggling for them about things that matter, like education, they'll continue to do the work as well. But adults, we have to do the work, and we have to let our children know we love them, we care about them, because what we spend our time doing is the thing that our children see us doing. And yeah, we got those distractions about Real Housewives of Airwear and Love and Hip Hop and all the foolishness of the world. And, you know, sometimes you need foolishness. But let's put the full measure and the full weight of our authority as their parents into doing the thing that's best for our children. Love them. Don't talk about them. Don't say they this, that, and the third. Love your children. Love your grandchildren. Love my next door neighbor's children. And if you think you want to say something negative, just bite your tongue. Make it hurt yourself. Right? Mm-hmm. So what would you say to that? You got something to say to that? You know you want to say something. Come on, Kay.
Just be the best that you can be. Be the best that you can be.
And bring somebody else along.
That's right.
We're going up to the 1 o'clock hour, and you're going to hear from Reverend Al Sharpton. We thank you so much. Support this radio station. You know you can't get this nowhere else. Can't do what we do. We're holding it down until the 1 o'clock hour. Thank you as always, Kayla, Reverend Dr. Kayla. I'm claiming it in the name of Jesus. You can't fight him no how. And we'll be calling you that soon. But thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And if it be God's will, we'll be with you on next Tuesday. Take care.
Still ain't seen nothing like my neighborhood. And of all of the fancy satin and silk, my white cotton feels so good. Search high and low for a place where I can lay my burdens down. Ain't nothing in the whole wide world like the peace